भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति विकास स्वामिनिति नामिने नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, welcome back. So we are continuing with the study of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 9, verses from 8 to 10. We discussed yesterday the Chatuchaki of the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, he declares himself how all the material worlds, spiritual worlds, and everything that we see in the creation, how he is the cause. Aham sarvasya prabhava mattas sarvang pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. So, after having known that Krishna is the cause of everything, so what one does? Iti matva bhajante mam. One engages in his devotional service. Buddha bhava samanvitaha. With full heart, they serve the Supreme Lord. Then Krishna goes on to explain what is the nature of those who are rendering such service. What nature they are. So Krishna explains Madchitta Madghata Prana Bodhayantah Parasparam Katayantaschamam Nityam Tushyanticha Ramanticha. So these devotees are, what are they doing? They are always absorbed in hearing about the Supreme Lord, discussing about the Supreme Lord, and glorifying the Supreme Lord. In this way, what is the result of it? Tushyanticha Ramanticha. They are fully satisfied and they are completely pleased in this activity. So these are the qualities of the pure devotees. Then a question is being raised. So, my dear Lord, you are unlimited. How is it that through the words of Guru, they can understand you, they can get a grasp of you? So like that yesterday we heard Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu was asking this question. So the Lord responds, Tesham satata yuktanam, for one who is always engaged in my service. Tesham satata yuktanam, bhajatang priti purvakam. But how he is engaged? With love. Bhajatang priti purvakam. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. Krishna gives him the intelligence to know about him. Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. So in that way, they will be able to come to me, Krishna explains. So, as we explained yesterday, these 4 verses are very important. We need to memorize them, we need to understand them. In fact, this is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. This is called as the Chatuchaki. So, now we will move on to the 4th verse, text 11. Without the functioning of knowledge and other such elements, how can they attain you and how can they even strive for that goal? So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is raising a question. So you need to have a great knowledge. One should strive for that goal only with that knowledge. How they will attain you? And here Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu is raising another doubt. Since they have been in darkness of ignorance for such a long time, how it is possible that you can illuminate their hearts? So they have been in ignorance from time immemorial. How is it possible they could be purified? Krishna answers, Tesham evanukang partam aham ajnanajang tamaha nashayam yatma bhavasto jnanadhipena bhaspata. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So here, Krishna reveals himself. So Krishna explains that Anukampa Artham, Tesham, and for them, for whom? For those devotees who are absorbed in Madchitta, Madgata Prana, who are engaged in unalloyed devotional service, to such personalities, what the Lord does, He gives them special mercy, and by that, Ajnanajam tamaha. He removes the ignorance from their heart. The darkness of ignorance is removed. Nashayam atma nashaya. It destroys the darkness of ignorance. How he is doing that? Jnana deepena bhasvata. By the shining lamp of knowledge, the Lord removes the ignorance. So this is, we need to understand this point. We didn't change it. Okay. So you see how it works. So a devotee, he comes to know about the glories of the Lord. He hears the glories of the Lord about the Lord. What is his relation? What is our relationship with him? How we are eternal servants of Krishna. How we have to engage in his loving service. So he hears about it and he dedicates his life in Krishna's service. And then by the association of the pure devotees and then by engaging in the process of devotional service, what Krishna does, Krishna, who is seated in the heart as Paramatma, he removes the darkness of ignorance with the transcendental knowledge. And in fact, we heard in the previous verse, the Lord also, the Lord gives him the knowledge to understand him. That also we heard. And all the ignorance is totally removed by the mercy of the Lord. Otherwise, it is not possible. There is a beautiful verse in the Bhagavatam which explains Pravishta Karna Randrena Swanam Bhava Sharoruham Dunoti Shamalam Krishna Salilasya Yatasharat. So very nicely, it is explained in the second canto of the Bhagavatam that Pravishta Karna Randrena, by giving oral reception, the Lord, the sound vibration, the Lord's holy name, the Srimad Bhagavatam, all the transcendental subject matter, it enters the heart. The Lord enters the heart, and then what he does, Swanam Bhava Sharoruham. It is explained that for the devotee who has purified himself, who has been having so much faith and is a self-realized soul, for such a devotee, the Lord, he sits in the lotus of the heart, and what he does, Dunoti Shamalam Krishna. The Lord removes all the anarthas, lust, anger, greed, ityadi. So the Lord personally removes it. How it is, a nice analogy is given. Shalilasya yatasharat. Dunoti Shamalam Krishna. So what happens, see, when there is a autumn season, there is a heavy downpour of rain, right? When there is heavy rain, what happens, you can see some places when there is sometimes you see the little muddy water. It doesn't go so easily. When there is a heavy rain, what it does, completely washes away everything. So nice analogy is given in the Bhagavatam. Similarly, the Lord who is seated in the heart, he removes all our misgivings, all our sinful proclivities, our lower tendencies, everything he removes. So this is the special mercy of the Lord. So yes, we are all, in the Kali Yuga, we all require a lot of mercy. So at the same time, we should not be lazy. That's I will get mercy, and we should not be lazy. So this is something very important. Lazy in the sense, we need to endeavor. Our Guru has given instructions what we need to do. Krishna also has given instructions in the Bhagavad Gita. So we must endeavor sincerely. This is what is required from our side. Nothing else is required. We should endeavor sincerely to chant His holy names. We should endeavor sincerely to hear about the glories of the Lord. We should endeavor sincerely to please the Lord. Then Krishna will be pleased. Then we may get that special mercy. Simply we will do nothing. We will just sit in a corner and then special mercy. Lord will do everything. Sometimes some people say that, right? When we go out to distribute books and something, the time will come, the calling will come. When I will get the calling, he'll be playing, he'll be watching TV or, sometimes many times we see, he'll be watching TV, watching sports, watching some serial. We go and knock at the door, sir, here is Bhagavad Gita, take. Time will come, sir. And the time will be ripe. The time is already ripe. Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita. He's asking us to wake up from the slumber of Maya. So this is an important point. Okay. Now, Srila Prabhupada opens up this purport with an amazing incident that took place in Varanasi. So here we will just read that. When Lord Chaitanya was in Banaras promulgating the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, thousands of people were following him. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after having taken initiation from Ishvara Puri, he was advised to chant the holy names of the Lord. He was in ecstasy singing the holy names of the Lord. He became like a madman, singing in the streets with great ecstasy. Sannyasi chanting with great ecstasy, jumping and dancing and chanting, and whomsoever saw him, you can just see the picture behind. There are quite some pictures here, how the Lord was in great ecstasy, singing and dancing. And so there was a set of Mayavadi sannyasis and Mayavadi philosophers who saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like this. They all knew Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a sannyasi. So what did they do? You will see in the next paragraph, Srila Prabhupada is pointing out. Sometimes Mayavadi philosophers criticize the devotees because they think that most of the devotees are in the darkness of ignorance and are philosophically naive sentimentalists. So this is the question. Are the followers of the Hare Krishna, or even they even criticize Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself? What is this? He took sannyas. Sannyasi means he should not engage in these kind of activities. He has given up everything. 6th chapter only we heard, right? Krishna says, who is a sannyasi? Sannyasi means he doesn't light the fire. He's socially dead person. You should not interact with anybody. You should simply be studying Vedanta and then absorbed in study of the Upanishads, and then follow the process of neti. What is going on here? Why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is performing like this? Well, there is also a little background why it is like this. You see in the Vedic times how the culture was. There were Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras. So everybody has got their responsibilities, and specifically those who are sannyasis, they are socially dead. They cut their shika, they cut their upavita, they don't wear panchakacha. So they are. You can see the sannyasis of the Shankara Mat. They very deeply study the scriptures. They study Vedanta, not like that. So here it was a kind of a shock for them to see sannyasi dancing and jumping. So they say that, you can do some bhajan. You can. So ultimately, it is you have to just know about the Brahman, and then you merge into the Brahman. This is their understanding. This is their approach to the conclusion of who is a sannyasi, like that. So now we can see here that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the essence of all the scriptures, the conclusion is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and specifically Krishna himself came as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to show that the most sublime process in this age of Kali is the chanting of the holy names of the God. And chanting and dancing the names of the Lord is the perfection of the path of spiritual realization. One gets into great ecstasy. So here Srila Prabhupada points out, actually that is not a fact. Which is not a fact? That devotees are sentimentalists. They are very, very learned scholars who have put forward the philosophy of devotion. But even if a devotee does not take advantage of the literatures or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, he is held by Krishna himself within the heart. So we will come to this. Now, let us try to understand. So do we simply chant Hare Krishna? Yes, ultimately, if somebody can simply 24 hours chant Hare Krishna and then be absorbed, that is the perfection of life. Even Prahlad Maharaj, what he says, Namavidha Bhakti. When he talks about Namavidha Bhakti, in the Namavidha Bhakti there is Shravanam, there is Kirtanam, and there are various other services also. Now what do? We read Bhakti Granthas. In fact, we read Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, these are two important books for us. So, the Upanishads, the Vedanta Sutras in aphorisms, they give the conclusions of the Vedas. But then which is the direct commentary for the Vedanta Sutras? Srimad Bhagavatam is a direct commentary. Ultimately, one should develop love for Krishna. By our study of the scriptures, one should develop love for Krishna. In fact, the Srimad Bhagavatam, where does it belong? Where Bhagavad Gita ends, Bhagavatam takes over. By the study of the scriptures, even one goes to such an extent that one gives up the idea of God, of Krishna being the God. Simply, one loves Krishna. Simply, one wants to give his life. One wants to give his pranayir, arthayir, dhiya, vacha, shreya, acharanam sada. Simply, one wants to please Krishna. Even he forgets that he is God. So this is the highest level of devotion, which to give this understanding, the Supreme Personality of Godhead came as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he said that so one has to become mad in love of Krishna. So in the beginning stages, we definitely have to follow rules and regulations. Not that we just jump to the stage of, in the name of pure love of God, just do some whimsical activities. We cannot do whimsical activities. We have to go through the process of sadhana bhakti. So in the process of sadhana bhakti, there is regularly we hear from the scriptures. In fact, Supreme Lord himself was doing it, right? When he was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we can see in the association of all great personalities, what he was doing. Yeah, he used to engage in kirtan. For hours together, he used to engage in kirtan. And then also what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was engaged in. Yes, he will hear Bhagavatam. Specifically, he will hear Prahlad Leela and Dhruva Leela from all these associates. And he will be in complete ecstasy. Remember how much he became ecstatic when Prataparudra, King Prataparudra, in the when the Ratha Yatra procession was going on. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was playing the pastimes of becoming tired, and then he was taking rest. So when he was taking rest, so Prataparudra, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never wanted to see Prataparudra because he was a king. King means opulence, money. So he always wanted to be at distance. He felt that it will influence him. So, but then devotees advised him, no, this is an opportunity, go and then do some seva. So he came and then he was very, he was massaging the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then when he was massaging, what he was doing, he was chanting from Srimad Bhagavatam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he loves to hear from Bhagavatam. Tava katamratam tapta jivanam kavibhiriditam kalmashapaham bhuvigranantiye bhuridajana. How does it verse go? I missed one line. Tava katamratam tapta jivanam kavibhiriditam kalmashapaham. How does it go? Bhuvigranantiye bhuridajana. One line I'm missing. Anybody? Any devotee who learned this verse? Shravana Mangalam Srimad Ratatam. This is the thing. Shravana Mangalam. So this, so hearing about, so the gopis were completely selflessly, they simply want to please Krishna. So they are always absorbed in chanting the glories of the Lord, hearing about the Lord's glories, and this is the most munificent work to be done. So when he was chanting from Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so absorbed. So the devotees, so they take so much, they absorb. So also in the Bhagavatam, it's not that we just jump to Rasa Leela. No? We study right from the first canto. We hear about the creation, we hear about the transcendental appearance of the Lord, his various incarnations, primary creation, secondary creation. We hear about various incarnations of the Lord's dealings with his devotees, how the material nature works, what is the nature of Maya, everything we hear. Then when we start to appreciate about Krishna's unique position, how he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how he is very much benevolent to his devotees. We hear about all these things, then we enter the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the point is, devotees are not naive sentimentalists. They are very clear on what they are doing. Yes, this is the perfection of life, to simply sing and dance for Krishna. So it's a very powerful process. Okay. Now Srila Prabhupada goes on to explain. But even if a devotee does not take advantage of the literatures of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, is held by Krishna himself within his heart. So the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. The only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. So this is the point. Now, the devotee, he may not be, even he may not be educated. He may not be able to read, but he has understood the conclusions of the scriptures. And the Lord from within is revealing him the transcendental knowledge. And he knows perfectly the conclusions of the scriptures. We will see one quote, how, what a transcendental personality was Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. There are so many examples in the history of the Vaishnavism. How many of them who were not educated, but the Lord empowers them because of their surrender and their devotion. Yeah, there are also, I don't remember who was that, one of the Arvars. So the Lord simply empowered him. He was just doing the service in the garden. He was using plucking flowers, making a garland for the Lord and like that. So suddenly the Lord sent him, you go and then you defeat. There were many Digvijay Pandits. He has to go in a court and then argue with many scholars. So he was saying, my dear Lord, what do I know? I don't know anything. You simply go there, you will speak. So there's a famous book where there was the whole incident, how he very systematically presented the Krishna conscious philosophy. So the point is that, we may say they're all the personal associates of the Lord, but then they're also setting the example that simply by giving our lives in Krishna's service, the Lord will empower them. The Lord will give them the transcendental knowledge. Okay. So here Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that the only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. So it doesn't matter whether you're educated or not educated, but if you are sincere, if you are able to accept the words of the Supreme Lord and you engage in His service and you try sincerely to please Him, then the Lord reveals this transcendental knowledge. So now Srila Prabhupada is defeating the idea of the Mayavadis, that one should be very well versed in scriptures, you should know all the details and intricacies. So here Prabhupada is pointing out, the Mayavadi philosophers think that without discriminating one cannot have pure knowledge. From them, this answer is given by the Supreme Lord. Which answer? Those who are engaged in pure devotional service, even though they be without sufficient education and even without sufficient knowledge of the Vedic principles, are still helped by the Supreme God as stated in this verse. So now this is the point, that one may not be very proficient, one may not be even scholarly, but he knows the cause of all causes. He knows Krishna is the essence of everything. So because of this transcendental knowledge, and also Krishna gives sufficient knowledge for him to serve Him and to understand Him and to come back home, back to Godhead. So here Srila Prabhupada again points out what is pleasing for Krishna. So just not by a mental effort one can come to know about the Supreme Lord. A man can go on speculating for several millions of years, and if he is not devoted, if he is not a lover of the Supreme Truth, he will never understand Krishna or the Supreme Truth. The pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart, and with the presence of Krishna, who is just like the sun, the darkness of ignorance is at once dissipated. This is the special mercy rendered to the pure devotee by Krishna. So now this is the point. So this one invokes this mercy by his dedication and surrender. So we can see in many, when you read Srila Prabhupada's books, in the Bhagavatam and in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in several places, you may look for this word special mercy. The devotees invoke the special mercy of the Lord. There are many quotes we can see. But how this is invoked? So this is invoked by the sincerity and dedication of the devotee. So that's why we should not simply take it for granted, special mercy of the Lord. Sometimes we also say, I will catch the dhoti of Prabhupada, get the back entry. All those things are there, but we should not misuse it. And be lazy not to make any endeavor. Sometimes they say, ultimately it's all Krishna's mercy. Yes, it is all Krishna's mercy. There is also our endeavor is there, our sincerity in our endeavor. While we are endeavoring, we are simply depending on Krishna. We are just praying to Krishna for strength. Not that by my strength, by my sadhana, I have achieved. No, that means we have not understood anything. Even to perform the various activities, we simply depend on Krishna. What Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings in his Gurudev Kripa Binudya, he says, Shakti buddhi ina amiyati dina koramore atmasata. This is the mood of a devotee. So like this, so one depends on Krishna for strength, and then he goes on, he endeavors, he tries to use his whatever strength he has got, whatever, one may be proficient in certain skills. So he uses everything to please Krishna. This is the whole point. And When one endeavors like that, what happens? Krishna from within also is giving intelligence, he is inspiring him and is helping him. He is right there in the battle against Maya. In one of the prayers by Rukmini, see in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna is trying to tease Rukmini. He is trying to see how much she is devoted to him. So after having teased, and then Rukmini faints actually, and then she comes to consciousness. Then Krishna says that, no, I just wanted to see how much love you have for me. Then she starts glorifying Krishna. So in one of the prayers she says that, oh my dear Lord, you are so dear to your devotee. You are right there. We are all in the material world, people are fighting against Maya. But you are, as a great protector, you are right there as a commander for your devotee to fight against Maya. So this much Krishna comes and helps his devotee. This is the glory of Supreme Lord. This is Bhakta Vatsalyam. He will do anything for his devotee. Okay, now Prabhupada is giving a practical solution how one can cleanse himself from the conditioning of this material world. How one can get purified. So he says, a devotee is engaged in devotional service and constantly chants Hare Krishna. The dust quickly clears and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. Cheto dharpanam arjanam bhavamaha dhavagni nirvapanam. Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitranam Vidyavadu Jivanam. So Srila Prabhupada goes on to say that ultimate goal Vishnu can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service and not by mental speculation or argument. Okay, Srila Prabhupada goes on. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. He need not be anxious because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. You see, what is the essence? The Lord takes care of his devotees. He need not be anxious because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. You remember, when I think both the incidents, when in the incident of Bilva Mangala Thakur when he was in Vrindavan, Madhavendra Puri. So they were not thinking, I'm now I'm traveling, now I'm going to a new place. Who will provide us? What is the shelter? Who will give us food? Krishna personally took care of them. They had so much faith, and Krishna personally came and then he fed them with a pot of milk and like that. So Krishna also, we just saw in the 9th chapter. Yesterday we discussed that point. Ananyas chintayanto ma ejana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam mahamyam. Personally, he takes care of his devotees. By studying Bhagavad Gita, one can become a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors. So this is the point. So that we can see, this is the test of devotion. How do we see? He becomes attached to Krishna, and naturally because of the attachment of Krishna, he becomes detached from material activities. That is a symptom. Both the things do not go in parallel. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu calls such a person a madman. I want to enjoy material life as well, and I want to enjoy spiritual life as well. It doesn't go together. Okay. You will see the commentaries of the Acharyas. Srila Sridhara Swami, he says, and having given him yoga of understanding, Buddhi Yoga, I make it last till he attains the realization and destroys his mundane existence that results from ignorance. Destroy darkness by residing in their self, in the function of their intellect, and by light of knowledge. You see, the Lord, he is there. He gives them intelligence and he takes control of them. Sri Ramanujacharya, he says, to show favor, I abide in their mental activity, established as an object of thought in their mind, and manifest the host of my auspicious attributes by light of knowledge relating to me. Thus, I dispel the darkness born from ignorance in the form of old karma, consisting of an attachment to the objects other than me to which they were previously habituated. You remember when you study the Kunti's prayers, in one of the purports, Srila Prabhupada, he points out that the Lord sees the sincerity of purpose. He says that when a devotee may be weak, he may be having some weakness, he may be attached to some things. But as he goes on engaging in devotional service with determination to please Krishna, Krishna, what he does, he helps him to come out of those weaknesses. So exactly Srila Prabhupada points out that, none of the purport. Same thing here, Sripad Ramanujacharya is pointing out that whatever anarthas, whatever karmic effects, because of the karmic effects this devotee is suffering, the Lord removes all those things because he helps the devotee, personally helps him. Okay, now let's see what Srila Vishma Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out. Without the functioning of knowledge and other such elements, how can they attain you and how can they even strive for that goal? All this is not at all necessary. Having the intention of giving them mercy by all means, even without them having to worry about attaining my mercy, since I myself make the endeavor to give them mercy, tesham evanukampartam, I being situated within the functioning of their intellects, by the lamp of knowledge, Krishna, lamp of knowledge arising from bhakti, which is beyond the gunas, not sattvic knowledge. Since bhakti alone can reveal me, destroy the darkness born of ignorance in them alone, and not in other persons such as the yogis. See, this is the thing. Krishna personally gives intelligence, he guides them how to act in particular situation. Not for other personalities. Others are trying by their own endeavor. The devotee is also endeavoring, but he is depending fully on Krishna. But others, they think that by my mind power, by my austerities, by my sense control, I will now try to achieve perfection. So that is here the case is that because he depends completely on Krishna, Krishna takes over. I alone, aham eva, do this all on my own. Why should they strive for this purpose? I have already said that I carry the responsibility of their spiritual and material welfare. I accept responsibility to supply all their material and spiritual requirements. Now, if you remember in the last chapter when we read, there was a question that is being raised. Is it not? Maybe it is not proper on the side of the devotee that he has to do everything. And he is making the Lord to perform some activities, or he is coming and then he is taking over and helping the devotee. Maybe it's wrong. There may be a critic by someone like that. But then how the acharyas are resolving that, he is saying that the Lord loves to do it. I want to help my devotee because he has dedicated himself to me. The Lord cannot control himself. And then we saw in one of the commentaries, right? The Lord says that, I cannot control myself. The Lord says, I will help my devotee. So that is the Bhakta Vatsalyam. The Lord, so that's the one thing, there is the one and only thing which, so you can predict many things, but there is one thing, you cannot predict any of the Lord's activity. What he will is very dynamic. What he will do, at which point, how he will respond, what he will do, nobody knows. But only one thing can be predicted. That is the Lord will certainly protect his devotee. The Lord will certainly take care of his devotee. That is for sure in any situation. Okay. So these famous 4 verses which have been narrated are the essence of all topics in the Gita, removing the misery and producing complete joy for the jivas. So nicely he's concluding. He says that removing the misery and producing complete joy for the jivas. So after hearing these 4 verses, so there is a hope. Oh, Krishna is there. Srila Prabhupada is there. He is our hope. They are going to help us. So all we have to do from our side is we need to submit ourselves and surrender. That's it. Then as we endeavor, we get inspired also. Krishna also empowers different jivas to engage in various activities. So let's see what Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu says. He says, since they have been existing in the darkness of ignorance for such a long time, how is it possible that you can illuminate their hearts? So it's not for the Sanishtas, but for those who cannot maintain their lives. Sanishtas means other kind of devotees, where they are mixed with the yoga or jnana, or karma. But for my unalloyed devotees alone, tesham eva, since they are worthy objects of my mercy, anukampartam, I situated with the attachment for the soul, like a bee in the lotus flower, reveal in the Atma. So he says when the bee, it goes into the lotus flower, it gets completely absorbed in that. So he says that, the Lord is saying that, reveal in the Atma my dazzling form and qualities and destroy darkness in the form of desires for objects other than myself, born from ignorance in the form of beginningless karma, which covers knowledge. This is interesting, same point. What is a stumbling block for us? Stumbling block is anya abhilashitam. We have so many desires, right? Other than trying to please Krishna. So that becomes a stumbling block for us. So we pray to Krishna to help us remove this other material desires. So he says that when one is very dedicated and when he submits himself and one is sincere and is serious, so Krishna, he helps the devotee to remove all those bad thoughts from his mind. How he does it? By means of the glowing lamp of knowledge concerning my form and qualities. Jnana Deepena Bhaspata. Okay, the same point is being repeated, like Yogakshema Mahamyam. I personally do it, that's being said. So the intelligent people understand that what is glorified in the 9th and 10th chapters, which are the very womb of the Gita, is the essence of the Gita. So these 4 verses is that's why it's called as the Chatuchaki, the essence of the 4 verses. So he says that these 2 chapters are very much the Bhakti is fully glorified. So yeah, it's also said they occur exactly at the center, he mentions. In 9 and 10 are very important verses. Okay, now here is a conversation of Srila Prabhupada. Indian man, because if we go wholeheartedly to God without proper understanding, there is also a flaw. Prabhupada, no, there is no question of understanding. Suppose this process, just like Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanamam Mang Prapadyate. After many births of culture of knowledge, the person who has come to the highest point of knowledge, he surrenders unto me. So similarly, if any person without any knowledge, if he surrenders only to Krishna, he acquires all the knowledge. He has surpassed all stage. He has surpassed all stages. And that is also confirmed. So also Krishna clarifies this in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Yomam evam asammuda janati purushottama sa sarvavid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. You know Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have to engage in his devotional service. If one is aware of this, he knows everything. Okay. If you say how he has gone, surpassed all stage, that answer is in the Bhagavad Gita. You find Tesham evanukam partam aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayam yatma bhavasto jnana deepena bhasvata. Here, Tesham, because he is a devotee, just to show him a special favor. Tesham evanukam partam. Simply for showing a special favor, I myself, from within, I light up the knowledge. I mean to say, searchlight, and he becomes. Now, please pay attention. See what Srila Prabhupada says. And you will be surprised that my Guru Maharaj's spiritual master was Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. He was completely illiterate. He did not know how to sign. And my spiritual master was the most learned man of this age. He accepted that Guru was completely illiterate. But when he would speak, that Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he would speak with all Vedic reference. But when he would speak, that Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaja, Yasya deva parabhaktir yata deve tata gurau tasyaite katita yartaha prakashante mahatmanaha. So, unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master, all the imports of Vedic knowledge are automatically revealed. So, the spiritual knowledge becomes revealed. It is not subjected to any material acquisition. It is not subjected to any material acquisition of knowledge. It becomes revealed. How? Yasya deve parabhaktir, yata deve tata gurau. One who has a staunch faith in the Supreme Lord and staunch faith in the personality of his spiritual master, bona fide, then he gets all the things revealed in himself. Spiritual things are not just like material things. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 24 to 34, August 10, 1966. So now this is the key factor. The key factor is that we hear from Krishna himself, and Krishna has set up the system that we hear through his pure devotees. And when one has got faith in the pure devotee and the Supreme Lord, then the knowledge is revealed. So this is how it works. And also, it was there were some scholars, they wrote, some of them wrote critics about the Hare Krishna movement. There was one scholar who was completely stunned by seeing in a very short span of time, there was no religion which spread like this. So when they saw that one unique quality they saw in the lives of the devotees. So they saw that they all were so much, they submitted themselves to the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. They gave their life, they were dedicated. So that was very attractive. The scholars saw that, how they had so much faith. They didn't know many things, but they just submitted themselves to Prabhupada, and they heard and they followed what he said. And then they saw that everything just sprouted from that actually. So there was one scholar who was trying to compile, who wanted to publish Chaitanya Charitamrita. He was working for quite some time. But then Srila Prabhupada with a team of devotees, they did a marathon in 2 months and then they produced Chaitanya Charitamrita. They published it. It was, and this person also was completely stunned, and he saw the dedication of devotees. So you see this what Srila Prabhupada is quoting here, Yasya Deve Parabhakti. It's a very important verse. It is the conclusion of our Siddhanta, that we need to have faith in the words of the spiritual master, and we need to have equal faith in the words of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So then, to such a person who is dedicated like this, the knowledge is revealed to him. Everything is revealed to him. And also we can see in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that's why it doesn't matter from which background, from what is the level of understanding, or it doesn't matter. If one has faith and one takes up to this process of Krishna consciousness, he can be considered as the pure devotee. He can be considered as a guru. Kibha vipra kibanyasi shudra kene nai Hey Krishna Tattva Veta say Guru Hoy. This is what the Chaitanya Charitamrita teaches. So it doesn't matter one is a learned person or one is a sannyasi, but all that is required is one should be very well versed in the science of Krishna consciousness. And he can become the spiritual master. So this is the point. Okay, now let's proceed to the other verses. So now, after having heard this Chatushloki from Krishna, Arjuna is completely convinced. And now we will see in the few verses, Arjuna accepts Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he speaks his realizations. So what is it that he realized about the Supreme Lord? So that we will hear now. Desiring to hear in detail what was just spoken briefly by the Lord, Arjuna speaks by first praising the Lord. See, also this is also another thing that we learn. Whenever we want to request the Supreme Lord or his pure devotees, the first thing is, we see also, this is also the standard practice we learn from pure devotees. First of all, we come and then praise the Supreme Lord. Even before we ask something, this is also we learn how do we do that. So immediately Arjuna is praising the Supreme Lord. So when we first come, we offer our obeisances to our Acharya, we then offer our obeisances to the deities, then we start glorifying the deities. And then after glorifying the deities, we may then we may request the Lord. So that's how it should be. This is not some kind of a ritual, but this is the proper system by which we do, and then we do it with full heart, and the Lord is very pleased. So we can even see in Dhruva's Leela, Dhruva, he was a very small boy, 5-year-old boy. He didn't know anything. But he wanted to glorify the Lord, but he couldn't even speak. He was stunned by seeing the beautiful form of the Lord. Then what the Lord did, he kept his conch on his head. Then he started glorifying the Lord. Such nice prayers you can see in the Bhagavatam. So the Lord gives. So what is the thing? First he starts glorifying about Lord's unique position. And then finally he offers some prayers also. That, my dear Lord, I don't want anything. I just want to be engaged in a pure devotional service. So like that. So now we can see here. Arjuna wants to know about the vibhutis of the Lord, but first he starts glorifying. Arjuna uvacha param brahma param dhama pavitrang paramang bhavan purusham shashvatam divyam adidevam ajang vibhum ahustvam rishayas sarve devarshir naradastata asito devalo vyasa swayam chaiva bhravishi me. Arjuna said, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. So now Krishna, after having spoken this verse, then Arjuna, with great realization, he is pointing out, the first thing he is saying that, Krishna, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And immediately from this, we can see in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is using the opportunity and then he's smashing Mayavad. You can, if you read, continue to read this Bhagavad Gita as it is and other books of Srila Prabhupada also, one phenomena you can always see. the acharyas, different acharyas, they use opportunity to defeat Mayavad. Specifically, Srila Prabhupada, when you see some commentaries of previous acharyas, sometimes you will see that when Srila Prabhupada, when you see Prabhupada in the Prabhupada's commentary, sometimes other acharyas would have not said anything about it, but Srila Prabhupada may use the opportunity and he may smash Mayavad. So we can see here how he is using it. In these two verses, the Supreme Lord gives a chance to the Mayavadi philosopher, for it is clear that the Supreme is different from the individual soul. So Arjuna's realization was that, he didn't say, finally, Krishna, I realized you and me, this is not different. You are me, I am you. He didn't say that. He immediately says, what he says, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma. You are the Supreme Brahman. Immediately he's saying that I am different from you. He's expressing that. So immediately Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that. Arjuna, after hearing the essential four verses of the Gita, in this chapter became completely free from all doubts and accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now we discussed this point before also. It's always quite good to remind this, that if we have read the Bhagavad Gita, we should come to this conclusion that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am his eternal servant. If you are not coming to this conclusion, there is a serious problem. So that is why we have to hear from bona fide devotees. Okay. Okay, now Prabhupada goes on to explain, every demigod and every human being is dependent on him. Men and demigods out of ignorance think that they are absolute and independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That ignorance is removed perfectly by the discharge of devotional service. So this has been explained in the previous chapters. Now, Srila Prabhupada, now he is establishing the point that Arjuna accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Somebody may say, oh, Arjuna is Krishna's friend, so he wants to push Krishna forward. There is no question of like that. Because Arjuna is pointing out everything, whatever you see, whatever Arjuna's realization also, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram, Paramam, we will see, we will go through one by one. Now, all these things are corroborated by the scriptures. He is the Supreme Brahman, and we can see acharyas are giving so many quotes, how he is the Supreme Brahman, how his abode is the Supreme abode, how he is the purest of all pure. So also this is one more lesson that we can learn here, that whenever we glorify, whenever we speak, it should be supported by these scriptures. What I feel is, what I think is, my opinion. Who cares for our opinion? Who cares for your opinion? What Krishna says, what the scripture says, this is what we are concerned. So this is another important. That's why you can see in the pastimes, in the Chaitanya Leela, Swarup Damodar was kind of a right hand for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anybody wants to offer, wants to glorify the Lord, or wants to come and speak in front of the Lord, anything they want to speak, so the first they will come and present it to Swarup Damodar. But he will immediately point out anything which is deficient, which is not in conclusions of the pure bhakti. He will immediately figure it out. So when somebody twists the philosophy, or someone in the name of his own realization presents something else, that is not accepted. So realization should always be in concordance with the conclusions of these scriptures. Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. This is the three key factors we always depend on. Okay. So now Prabhupada points out that it is not that because Krishna is Arjuna's intimate friend, Arjuna is flattering him by calling him the Supreme Personality of God and the absolute truth. Whatever Arjuna says in these two verses is confirmed by Vedic truth. Vedic injunctions affirm that only one who takes devotional service to the Supreme Lord can understand him, whereas others cannot. And each and every word of this verse spoken by Arjuna is confirmed by the Vedic injunction. In the Kena Upanishad, it is stated that the Supreme Brahman is the rest for everything, and Krishna has already explained that everything is resting on him. In the Mundaka Upanishad, confirms that the Supreme Lord in whom everything is resting can be realized only by those who engage constantly in thinking of him. So Prabhupada defines what is Smaranam. Smaranam is completely thinking of the Supreme Lord. Shravanam, Kirtanam should lead to Smaranam. Okay. In the Vedas, the Supreme Lord is accepted as the purest of the pure. One who understands that Krishna is the purest of the pure can become purified from all sinful activities. One cannot be disinfected from sinful activities unless he surrenders unto the Supreme Lord. Arjuna's acceptance of Krishna as supreme pure complies with the injunctions of Vedic literature. This is also confirmed by great personalities, of whom Narada is the chief. So again we can see, so if just not Arjuna is saying, he says that even all the other great rishis, they are also accepting, they have also acknowledged Krishna's supremacy. So also we can see there is a beautiful verse from this is from maybe from the Padma Purana, I think. Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddhav Nitya Muktav. Purna Shuddhav. This speaks about the Lord's holy name. The Lord and the Lord's holy name, they are not different. Abhinnato Nama Namino. So Krishna is the purest of the pure. What do we do? There is in doing puja, we also do Bhuta Shuddhi and Sa Bhagya Abhyantra Shuchi. How does that verse begin? Anybody remembers? Huh? Thank you. Om apavitra pavitrovam sarvavasta gatopiva yasmaret pundari kaksha. See, we sip the water, we purify ourselves, but the most important thing is chanting the names of Krishna. That is what purifies everything. It purifies the entire atmosphere because Krishna is the purest of the pure. So that's the point. Okay. He is the supreme existence. He is free from bodily needs, birth and death. Not only does Arjuna confirm this, but all the Vedic literatures and the Puranas and histories, they do confirm. So by meditating on Krishna, who is the supreme existence, one gets purified. Okay. So Prabhupada again makes the point that we can understand the Bhagavad Gita. He concludes this purport by pointing out that one can understand how Krishna is Param Brahma, he is Param Dhama, his abode is the supreme, he is the purest of the pure, and he is the Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram, Idam Uttamam, he is the topmost personality, Pratyaksha, sorry, I'm mixing up, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram, Paramang Bhava, and there is no one superior to him, Purusham, he is a person, Shashvatam, he is the eternal reality, Divyam, he is transcendental, Adi Devam Ajam Vibham, he is the Adi Deva, he is the gods of all the gods, he is the original Deva, Ajam, he is unborn, and Vibhum, he is the unlimited. So this conclusion, how one can come to this conclusion, Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that it is possible when we hear the Bhagavad Gita through the pure devotee who has followed the footsteps of Arjuna, and he says, you see here he says, Prabhupada concludes, Arjuna expresses himself through the grace of Krishna. If we want to understand Bhagavad Gita, we should accept the statements in these two verses. This is called the parampara system, acceptance of the disciplic succession. Unless one is in disciplic succession, he cannot understand Bhagavad Gita. It is not possible by so-called academic education. Unfortunately, despite so much evidence in the Vedic literatures, those proud of their academic education stick to their obstinate conviction that Krishna is an ordinary person. Obstinate conviction means they are so stubborn, they don't want to accept Krishna's supremacy. So there is a nice reference Ramanujacharya in his commentary. Sri Ramanujacharya is pointing out. He is quoting from Chandogya Upanishad. He says, as water clings not to the leaf of the lotus flower, similarly evil deeds do not cling to him who knows that Lord is Pavitram Uttamam, topmost pure and topmost purified. Just by knowing that Krishna is Pavitram, what happens? His heart is purified. So this is the glory of the Supreme Lord, surrendering to him. Now, there is one point here we can think of. See, in the beginning of the first 7 verses, we heard Name Vidus Suragana Prabhavangna Maharshaya. Even the rishis, they are bewildered, they do not know. And now, again, in this verse, if you see, Arjuna is pointing to Narada, Asito, Devala, Vyasa. Even the rishis are confirming. It may, if you just think about it, it may appear like, what is this? Just before he said the rishis cannot understand him. Now he said rishis are also acknowledging. So the point is that these rishis, there are whatever rishis that are mentioned here, Asito, Narada, Devala, Vyasa, they are great personalities. What they have realized that Krishna is Supreme Lord, they have surrendered to Him, they submitted Him. They are those who are Machitta, Madgata, Prana. They are discussing constantly about the glories of the Lord. They are absorbed in Him. So, those rishis, they have acknowledged and they have realized. Are able to follow what is the point that we are discussing. So there is no contradiction there. Otherwise, in general, those who are trying to go by the process of jnana, it's not possible to understand Him. Okay, now let's continue. Text 14. Sarvametadrutang manye yanmang vadasi keshava nahite bhagavan vyakting vidur devana danavaha. So this is again a very important verse, text 14, and also 12 and 13. If it was not in the list, please add it to the list. 12 and 13 as well. Chatuchaki, and then yesterday I spoke about the second verse, Name Vidusuragana. And then this verse, Sarvametadritang manye, Yanmam vadasi keshava. Translation: O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the demigods nor the demons, O Lord, can understand your personality. So this verse sets the attitude of how we should accept the conclusive scriptures, statements of the scriptures. How Arjuna here, Sarvametadritang manye. All that you have spoken, I take it completely. I accept all your statements. Nahite bhagavan vyaktim vidur devana danava. But the demigods or the demons or cannot, oh Lord, can understand your personality. They cannot understand. But I fully accept your conclusive statements. Now we can see here in this verse that Arjuna, with full conviction, is accepted. He has accepted Krishna as the Supreme Person. There was no tinge of doubt with him. Now, you see, there are some people, they accept some statements of the scriptures and they leave other statements of the scriptures. We have this Artha Kukuti Nyaya, it's like this, half chicken philosophy. You accept, I will, you accept one side of the one set of statements and you reject one set of statements. For example, we can see they say that Krishna, the Supreme Lord, how he can dance with the other man's wives, how he can dance with the gopis. Well, the first thing we need to acknowledge here, you accept Krishna. First of all, how do you accept Krishna? You accept Krishna from the Vedas or from the scriptures. So you saw that Krishna is dancing with other man's wives, but same Bhagavatam is explaining about Krishna's unique position, who he is, what are his transcendental features, what is the tattva about the Supreme Lord. Everything is very clearly explained. Why don't you read that? Why are you not reading from the first canto of the Bhagavatam, which clearly explains how Krishna is the cause of all causes. Ete chamsa kalapumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Hridayanti Yuge Yuge. The Bhagavatam is explaining Savai Pumsang Paro Dharmo Yato Bhakti Radokshaje Ahetukya Pratyata Atma Suprasidati. So the perfection of one's life is to engage in loving devotional service without any motivation and in an uninterrupted way. One has to please the Supreme Lord. That is the perfection of religion. But there are several verses which speaks about the Krishna's supremacy and how he is the topmost personality and how everything belongs to him. But they don't accept. They only take one part and then they leave the other part. So which is not proper. Here Arjuna is setting standard that Sarvametadritang manye, with full heart, accept all the conclusive statements of the scriptures. And maybe sometimes we may not be able to understand certain scriptural statements, but we clarify it, we check with our senior devotees or from our spiritual master, and we hear and then we try to understand it. And some things will only, in the due course of time, knowledge will be revealed. We simply accept the statements of the scriptures as it is. We don't misinterpret it, we don't doubt it, we don't criticize it, then it becomes an offense. You are getting it? So that should be the attitude of the devotee. At the same time, we are not completely sentimentalists. We try to approach it with proper attitude and try to understand. But there are certain things which is revealed as we get purified. The knowledge is revealed to us. So it's a question of, that's why the whole process of devotion is a question of purification. So the more we are purified, whatever that is required to render service to the Lord, that will be revealed to us. So that we can see with advanced devotees, they know so much because they have surrendered themselves, they have engaged in service, and the knowledge is revealed to him. So that's why we hear from those bona fide devotees. That is the system Krishna has given. So here a nice point is made. Srila Prabhupada is here pointing out. Arjuna herein confirms that persons of faithless and demoniac nature cannot understand Krishna. He is not known even by the demigods. So what to speak of the so-called scholars of this modern world? By the grace of the Supreme Lord, Arjuna has understood that the supreme truth is Krishna, and that is the perfect one. And also in the Sutta Goswami, also in the Bhagavatam, is acknowledging Yasyanta Sura Suragana. He says that even the great demigods and the demons, they are very difficult for them to know about your exact personality. Yeah, so they point out that that's the same thing as Srila Prabhupada is giving here. Yasyanta Sura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Yeah. One should therefore follow the path of Arjuna. He received the authority of the Bhagavad Gita as described in the 4th chapter. The parampara system of disciplic succession for the understanding of Bhagavad Gita was lost, and therefore Krishna re-established that disciplic succession with Arjuna because he considered Arjuna his intimate friend and a great devotee. So again Srila Prabhupada here, see how many times Srila Prabhupada is repeating it, because in the whole society such a havoc has been created. There is one famous, not famous, I would say, there's one edition which there is one set of people who are reading one Bhagavad Gita. That is from, we should not tell the names, but anyway, Paramahamsa Yogananda, one Bhagavad Gita which is written by him. If you see, you can just go through, all these bhakti chapters and everything. Nothing is clear. That it's the whole point of Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. That is not revealed. If you just see, ultimately something is revealed there. Something about Brahman is given. But very clear, there are so many slokas where Krishna is very clearly explaining his unique position. But everything is twisted. Everything is misinterpreted. That also we hear this example of, what's that? Actually, Kurukshetra, what does it refer to? Actually the 5 senses are referring to the Pancha Pandavas. From where is this coming from? So many, this kind of misinterpretations we could see with these unauthorized editions. So people get carried away. They totally negate the Krishna, negate that Krishna is a person. They don't, they completely deny, as Srila Prabhupada is pointing out. So also Srila Prabhupada again and again is repeating from where you are hearing. That is so important. Okay, here we will see Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out, I do not doubt at all what you say to me, but these rishis say that your supreme body is without birth. They do not know about your birth. They do not understand how you with your Swarupa of Parabrahma can be both unborn and born. So we heard the Yoga Maishwaram, right? We accepted, because Achintya Veda Veda, Tattva philosophy also, in 9th chapter, we saw the series of verses. How is it possible for Krishna to do simultaneously both the activities? Yes, that is his Achintya Shakti. Devotees have no problem in accepting that. Unless you accept that, you will not be able to appreciate that. So what you have said in verse 10 that neither the Devas nor Rishis know about your birth, I accept as completely true. Sarvam etad ritam mani. O Keshava, you bind up even Brahma and Shiva with ignorance of your true nature. So here we see in this verse, Sarvam etad ritam mani. Enmam vadasi Keshava. This word is used. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out. What is that? Keshava, there are different meanings. In the first chapter also we saw. So here he refers, Keshava Ka refers to Brahma, Isha refers to Shiva, and Va refers to bind. You bind even Shiva and Brahma. He goes on to speak like that. Then certainly it must be said that the Devatas and Danavas also do not know you. Even sometimes Shiva and Brahma, they are bewildered. What to speak of other Devatas and other Danavas? Are you getting the point? See what he is speaking? Are you able to follow? Okay. So now, Srila Sridhara Swami, in his commentary, he for the next verse, he points out, I regard as truth whatever you have said about your supremacy and opulences. Sarvam etadritam manye. I regard as truth also that neither demigods nor demons know you. So then what? Who knows you? Now that is answered here. Swayam evatmanatmanam vetattvang purushottama bhuta bhavana bhutesham deva deva jagatpate. Indeed, you alone know yourself by your own internal potency, O Supreme Person, origin of all, the Lord of all beings, God of gods, Lord of the universe. So here Arjuna is using some very peculiar words, specific words to glorify Krishna, that Swayam evatmanatmanam. My dear Lord, you know about yourself completely. No one else can know you. By your internal potency, you are completely aware of yourself. You are Bhuta Bhavana, you are Bhutesha, you are Deva Deva, you are Jagatpate. We will see why he is using these 4 words to glorify Krishna. Prabhupada is pointing out in the purport. So Prabhupada in the beginning of the purport, he goes on to explain that by mental speculation you cannot understand. The atheistic persons cannot understand Krishna. Only devotee can understand Krishna. And also, Srila Prabhupada points out how the absolute truth is revealed by 3 levels of realization. The supreme truth is realized in 3 aspects. Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. The supreme truth is realized in 3 aspects: as impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and at last as the supreme personality of Godhead. So, at the last stage of understanding the absolute truth, one comes to the supreme personality of Godhead. A common man or even a liberated man who has realized impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma may not understand God's personality. Such men therefore may endeavor to understand the Supreme Person from the verses of the Bhagavad Gita which are being spoken by this person, Krishna. Sometimes the impersonalists accept Krishna as Bhagavan or they accept his authority. Yet many liberated persons cannot understand Krishna as Purushottama, the Supreme Person. So they have problem in understanding the personality of the Lord. We discussed in detail when in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Vitaraga bhayakroda manmaya mam upashitaha bhagavad jnana tapaso putamad bhavam agataha. So everybody has some of them are frustrated, some of them are frustrated with the forms, so they reject the form, and some of them they're trying to engage their senses in trying to satisfy their senses by enjoying this material world, but they are completely defeated in their attempts because matter cannot satisfy the soul. Asangoya ayam purushaha. The soul has got no connection with this matter. So however we try to enjoy the senses, we will be bewildered again and again. It appears glittering, it appears attractive, but at the end of the day, we are frustrated because matter is jada. It cannot satisfy the soul. So because of the frustration, they totally reject all kinds of relationships, all kinds of personalities. They don't want to discuss about it, or they even put everything into the category of illusion. Everything is illusion, they say. So they have problem in accepting personality. So that is what Srila Prabhupada is pointing out here. Now, how we can accept Krishna? Srila Prabhupada says that follow in the footsteps of Arjuna. So he says that therefore Arjuna addresses him as Purushottama. Yet one still may not understand that Krishna is the father of all living entities. Purushottama. He is the father of all living entities. So one may not accept that. So then he says that, further he emphasizes, Arjuna is pointing out that Arjuna addresses him as Bhuta Bhavana. And if one comes to know him as the father of all living entities, still one may not know him as the supreme controller. So he is Bhuta Bhavana, one may come to know that, but they may not know that he is the supreme controller. So he is calling him that he is Bhutesha, the supreme controller of everyone. He is not only the father of all the living entities, he is not only the Uttama Purusha, but he is also the controller of everyone. Then he goes on to explain, and even if one knows Krishna as the supreme controller of all living entities, still one may not know that he is the origin of all the demigods. So one may doubt, what about the demigods? He is saying, no, he is the origin of all the demigods as well. He is Deva Deva. Therefore he is addressed herein as Deva Deva, the worshipful God of all demigods. So then he goes on, and even if one knows him as a worshipful God of all demigods, one may not know that he is the supreme proprietor of everything. So what about this? All the entire worlds? No, he is the supreme proprietor, Jagatpati. So, thus the truth about Krishna is established in this verse by the realization of Arjuna, and we should follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna as he is. So, you see the realizations of Arjuna, how he is glorifying the Supreme Lord. Every word has got a meaning, not that just some words are coined. Arjuna, with full realization, he is glorifying the Lord. Okay. Now we will see again how the acharyas are further explaining this. So why Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti in his commentary is pointing out why he is called as Purushottama. Because actually from the Lord the creation takes place. The Lord glances, and from his glancing everything, all his energies interact, and then the creation takes place. And then the Lord expands himself into three Vishnus, and then the three Vishnus take care of the creation, maintenance, and sustenance of this universe. So he is the Uttama Purusha. Krishna is the Uttama Purusha, from whom all the Purusha avatars come out. So he is called as Purushottama. He is pointing out that. Then he goes on to explain that not only you are the supreme among them, you are the Lord of these lords up to Brahma. So you have become the creators of all material bodies. Bhuta Bhavana is pointing out that. Not only are you the Lord of all of them, you are also the performer of pastimes. Here he gives another Deva. The one of the meaning for the word Deva is also pastimes. The word Deva comes from the root Div, one who plays. So Deva means one who plays. The Lord plays pastimes. So he is the Deva Deva. You are the player of all the pastimes, he says. Performer of all the pastimes. Taking the Devas. He also interacts pastimes with, we can see Brahma, Vimona, Leela, and so many other pastimes the Lord performs. Moreover, out of your infinite mercy, you are the master of those like me, just as a dasa, dwelling within the universe, Jagatpate. All four of these terms, okay, there are technical details about the Sanskrit. So that's how he glorifies. Now, we can see there's another meaning also, which is derived from Vishwanath Chakravarti's commentary. He points out, these words may be taken as terms describing the nature of being a supreme person. You are the father of all creatures, but since sometimes the father is not respected, he says, Arjuna says, you are the controller of all creatures, Bhutaisha. So, he is the controller. But sometimes even a controller is not worthy of worship. Therefore, he says, you are the Deva among all the Devas. Though the Devas are worshipable, sometimes they do not give protection. Therefore, he says, you are the protector of the universe. You remember this. Immediately you can remember the pastime of Gajendra. When Gajendra was calling for the help, they were not coming forward. Maybe he's not calling, or sometimes they don't have the capacity also to protect. But Krishna is the supreme protector. So these are the gradations how he is calling. And we can see Srila Prabhupada's purport is exactly in line with what Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu has given the commentary. There's also Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is pointing to the same thing. So we will continue. Text 16. Vaktum arhasya seshena divya yatma vibhutayah yabir vibhuti bhir lokan imam stvang vyapyatishtasi. Please tell me in detail of your divine opulences by which you pervade all these worlds. So now, Arjuna, now he is requesting Krishna. After having glorified the Lord with choicest of words, now he is requesting Krishna, my dear Lord, please, now in detail tell me about the divine opulences. Vibhuti bir lokan. Yabir vibhuti bir lokan. Vibhuti here is referred as the opulence. So, and he also acknowledges that this is divine. Your opulences are divine. And you pervade the entire world by your opulences. Now, Srila Prabhupada in the purport is pointing out that Arjuna, actually Bhagavad Gita is over. Bhagavad Gita chapter is over with this Chatushloki. Why Arjuna is asking further questions? For what? Arjuna is fully convinced that Krishna, he said Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. He is fully happy, he completely knows. And now, why Arjuna is asking this question? So that's what Srila Prabhupada is pointing out. By Krishna's grace, Arjuna's personal experience, intelligence and knowledge and whatever else a person may have, and through all these agencies, he has understood Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So whatever is required, he says that Arjuna is fully convinced. Now then why Arjuna is inquiring? So, Arjuna is asking Krishna how he exists in his all-pervading aspect through his different energies. One should know that this is being asked by Arjuna on behalf of the common people. So Arjuna thinks of the common people. It's not swapping. So Arjuna is thinking of he is keeping in mind the difficulties the common people are having. See, that we already discussed that quite some people, they don't accept Krishna's supreme form. They don't accept his personal personality. So Arjuna is thinking of all of them, and then he wants to help others who have not understood about Krishna's unique position. So how they can relate to him in his situation. So also we can see this is a unique quality of a pure devotee. Pure devotee, he does not think of himself. He always thinks of, he's the Uttamadhikari, he's a advanced devotee. He thinks of all others who are in a lower level, who are struggling in this material world. He thinks of their welfare, and then he comes forward to help them. It's a quality of Vaishnava, paradukha dukhi. He always tries to help others. Okay, so that's the key point. So now Arjuna wants to know, he wants Krishna to explain these vibhutis. Now Srila Vishnu Chakravarti in his commentary points out, it is difficult to understand the truth about you. Therefore, I want to know about your vibhutis. Your vibhutis are very attractive, divya. You should speak about them fully. But it is impossible to speak of all of my vibhutis fully. So then Arjuna says, speak about those vibhutis by which you spread yourself in this world. At least you show your opulences that is there in this world. We would like to know about that. Now, so this is also very important for us, because we need to know, because if we know about the opulences of the Lord, so we also in our preaching, we are dealing with so many different kinds of people. So Prabhupada, how many times he used to point out, just by knowing Krishna as a taste of water, you can know the presence of Krishna. Why that is being seen? But for a devotee who is fully convinced, who knows he worships Krishna in his transcendental form, in his two-handed form, the devotee worships the Lord. The devotee likes to hear about the Lord's pastimes. He wants to chant his names. He wants to engage in his service. But then there are so many people in different categories. We need to raise them to this level. Also in the Bhagavatam, we can see in the second canto, when Parikshit asked question to Shukadeva Goswami, that I am in the verge of leaving this world. I'm going to die in 7 days. So I want to know what is the best activity that I can do. So at that time, you can see Shukadeva Goswami also, because there are so many different kinds of rishis. Many of them are jnani, some of them are yogis. Everyone was trying to give different suggestions. So keeping all of them in the mind, so you can see in 3 chapters in the Bhagavatam, there is an explanation given right from worship of the impersonal Brahman, worship of the Virat Roop, and then after saying all these things, then Shukadeva Goswami points out that ultimately the best one, what you need to do is you need to chant the names of Krishna. You need to hear about the Lord's glories. So like that, step by step, he takes it forward. So also that's why you can see in the Bhagavatam also, it caters. Sometimes we may question why there is Palastuti, why there is some kind of balam rice. There is a a kind of what to say. I will just give another simple example. Sometimes a child wants the mother wants to give some medicine. So what the mother does, she shows some sweet, shows some chocolate or something, and then she gives the medicine later. So similarly, sometimes to attract the attention of the neophytes, there are several descriptions given in the scriptures. So the point here is that this is required to know, and then also we can, in our beginning stages also, we can, whenever we see around us, we start to relate everything in relationship with Krishna. In fact, this is the position of an advanced devotee. We don't see the material world as enjoyers of this world. We don't see as everything meant for our enjoyment. When we see anything splendorous, when we see anything beautiful, anything powerful, immediately we see this as, we relate this with Krishna. So that's how we should be trained. That's how we should look at this world. So that is why. So by even hearing these opulences, our dirty mentality of trying to be enjoyous, we are purified of that propensity. So we see a beautiful mountain, we immediately remember how Krishna is the cause of all this cause. So we see, when we see lion, we understand the word. We immediately relate to the verse in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Like that, whatever we see, we relate it to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And also for others who are fascinated by this, so for them they are making one step ahead in their approach towards the God realization. Okay, let's move to the next verse, text 17. Katang vidyamahang yogin tvang sada parichintayan keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintyosi bhagavan maya. O Krishna, O Supreme Mystic, how shall I constantly think of you and how shall I know you? In what various forms are you to be remembered, O Supreme Personality of Godhead? So katam vidyam, so he's asking, so how? What are the different knowledge? What are the different ways by which I can know you, Arjuna? I can know you, Krishna. Parichintayan, chintayan, chintana. So how to think of you? In what are the different forms? Keshu keshu cha bhaveshu. So now Arjuna is asking, already in this question, Arjuna is speaking furthermore. Arjuna already asked this question to Krishna. So Krishna also advised him. So how to think of me, what Krishna, whatever chapters that we have discussed so far. So where Krishna starts suggesting him how to think of Krishna. Any remembrance from the previous chapters? Manmana Bhava Bhakti, 9th chapter. But even before the 8th chapter, Krishna is giving some advice. So Krishna is speaking, yes, you think of me at the time of death, you can think of me, you have to think of me. He says, if you remember, he says that, what is that? Krishna says, Kavim Puranam, Anushashitaram, Aditya Varnam, Tamasaf Parastat, Sarvasya Dhataram, Achintya Rupam. Krishna says, okay, this is how he is saying. First he begins like this. Then he begins like that, and then he goes on to, in the 9th chapter, he very clearly says that, you have to remember my form, Manmana Bhava Madbhakto, Madhyajiva Namaskuru. So now, again, this question is being raised. Arjuna is fully convinced with that. There is no doubt for him. Now he is asking, what other forms he can remember you? So Arjuna is asking this question to Krishna. Because that even to remember, that even the first beginning thing when he says that, Kavim Puranam, Anusashitaram, Sarvasya Dhataram, Achintya Rupam, Aditya Varnam. So it's for a very highly elevated people who can remember like that. But for those who are in a very, very beginning stage, who do not know about Krishna's supremacy and his form, how can such people, how they can start to relate to you? So this is what Srila Prabhupada is. Arjuna is a Vaishnava and hence concern for the common man that we discussed. And Prabhupada is pointing out that now Arjuna is convinced that his friend Krishna is a supreme Godhead, but he wants to know the general process by which the all-pervading Lord can be understood by the common man. Common men, including the demons and atheists, cannot know Krishna because he is guarded by his Yogamaya energy. Again, these questions are asked by Arjuna for that benefit. So Arjuna, out of his mercy, because he is a Vaishnava, a devotee, is opening for the common man the understanding of the all-pervasiveness of the Supreme Lord. So this is the key point. The common man who has no love for Krishna cannot always think of Krishna. Therefore, he has to think materially. You see, this is the point. Arjuna is considering the mode of thinking of the materialistic persons of this world. Because materialists cannot understand Krishna spiritually, they are advised to concentrate the mind on physical things and try to see how Krishna is manifested by physical representations. Something solid they would like to see, and then they are amazed by that. Wow, what a big mountain, oh, what a beautiful flower, what a beautiful tree, so like that they start to appreciate the creation of the Lord, and from that they gradually elevate. So he was thinking of them, and then he's asking this question. Okay, now let's go to text 18. Vistarenatmano yogam vibhuting cha janardhana bhuyak kataya triptirhi shrinvato nasti me mritam. O Janardhana, again please describe in detail the mystic power of your opulences. I am never satiated in hearing about you. For the more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words. So Vistarena, in detail, Arjuna, now please explain about your opulences. And Arjuna here is pointing out that, no, Amritam, it is nectar for me. The more I hear about you, the more I relish. So please explain. So we discussed this verse before, how even the great sages, those who are liberated, those who are conditioned, everyone wants to hear about Krishna Katha. Specifically, here it is mentioned, Vayam tuna vitripyama uttama shloka vikrame yachshinvatam rasajnanam swadu swadu pade pade. One can never be satiated even though one continuously hears the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, who is glorified by excellent prayers. Those who entered into a transcendental relationship with Krishna relish at every step the descriptions of the pastimes of the Lord. So now this is the point. So because Krishna, the topics of Krishna is so nectarian, and when one is more and more purified, he never wants to stop hearing. He wants to continuously hear the about the narrations of the Supreme Lord. Now, Prabhupada points out this word Amritam. Amritam, nectar, is concerned, any narration or statement concerning Krishna is just like nectar. And this nectar can be perceived by practical experience. So we already discussed, no, that this is Pratyaksha Vagamam, Pavitram, Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmyam, Susukam, very happily when by engaging in Krishna's service, by chanting. Yesterday we discussed in detail about how, during festival days and whatever, when even in the neophyte stage, when we submit ourselves to Krishna and then give oral reception to Krishna, it is so nourishing. And also we discussed how by chanting this Hare Krishna, we may never get bored. If it is for something else, we may feel boring. That's why in the material world always new songs are coming up, new poetry is coming up, new books are coming up, new films are coming up. But we are again and again repeating, we are hearing about the same pastimes of the Lord, we have heard Govardhan Leela many times. And again, when we hear about the Govardhan Leela, we are just so captivating, so wonderful. Not Govardhan Leela, any Leela of the Lord, it is like that. Because Krishna is Nava Yauvanam, he is ever fresh, always Nava Rasa, always there is ever fresh new rasas are coming out. That's why you see, you have read, Prabhuji, I have read Bhagavad Gita 200 times. Oh, is it okay? You read 201st time. And then, oh my God, what an amazing point. Krishna is speaking like this. So yesterday, we saw that, that the goal of all processes is to know Krishna. That we read, this is such a very profound statement. So Krishna reveals himself more and more. So that is the nectar in the process of Krishna consciousness. Okay. Modern stories, fiction and histories are different from the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, in that one will tire of hearing mundane stories, but one never tires of hearing about Krishna. It is for this reason only that the history of the whole universe is replete with references to the pastimes of the incarnations of Godhead. The Puranas are histories of bygone ages that relate the pastimes of the various incarnations of the Lord. In this way, the reading matter remains forever fresh despite repeated readings. You see, that is why you can see the descriptions are there in the Bhagavatam. Same Leela you will see in the Vishnu Purana also. And then you may see in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. You may see, there are so many Puranas which describe the same Leelas, it will have little different flavor. And also, the Lord is performing various pastimes in various kalpas. Always there is little, there may be some, some flavors in some Leelas. So like that, but every time you hear, you are completely in great bliss. So, and we can see the more of it, we are cured from our disease, the more we want to hear, because it becomes so nectarian. So the devotee rushes to, he never misses to hear Harikatha. So that is the life and soul of a devotee. So that's why we heard Matchitta, Madgata Prana, Bodhayantav Parasparam. So he's relishing it, because there is, Krishna is present. So we have Krishna is present in the pages of the Bhagavatam. So we should regularly hear and read. Then we become, like as Arjuna is experiencing it, it becomes nectar. Okay, there is one other point I want to. Okay, here Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out. I have already said that I am the source of everything and everything moves because of me. Aham sarvasya prabhavaha. Therefore, you should understand that everything is my vibhuti. And by knowing this, they worship me. Iti matva bhajante mam. I have indicated bhakti yoga. But speak in detail about your vibhutis and about bhakti. O Janardana, In people such as me, Jana, by the sweetness of your beneficial instructions, you create longing. You make us agitated, ardhana, and you make us beg. So he says that, what happens is that when you, more and more we hear, we are more in anxiety to hear about your glories. And we beg to hear that. What can we do? For me, hearing nectar in the form of your instructions, relishing through your tongue in the form of my ear, there is no satiation, he says. I would like to relish, that I don't feel satiated at all. Okay, so here with this we are completing one theme. Now Krishna is going to explain about his opulences, about his various vibhutis that we will discuss tomorrow. So if you have any questions or comments, you can take one. Any questions, comments, any realizations?
From this 4 to 5 minutes sloka.
Yes. Yes.
Pushti.
Yeah.
Also not eager to gather more and more material goods by unnecessary activities. One should be satisfied whatever is ordained by the grace of Supreme Lord. Then how would we know that what I'm getting is ordained by the Supreme?
Can you please repeat? Can you repeat?
Dear Prabhupada saying,
Yeah.
We should be satisfied whatever we got by the mercy of Supreme Lord. But how we can understand what we are getting by the mercy of Supreme Lord, and that is enough.
Okay, the question is that how do we understand? So we become satisfied by the process of Krishna consciousness, but then how do we know that whatever practice that we are doing, that actually it is mercy of Krishna? Is that the question? So yeah, it is. See, just by reading the Bhagavad Gita, and then we can. That's the whole point. That's what Sri Bhagavan Vacha. The Supreme Lord is speaking. The Supreme Lord, he very mercifully he descends to this material world, and he gives knowledge to the conditioned souls. Not only that, he sends his pure devotees as well. So this is the Lord's quality of Bhakta Vatsalya. He wants to help his devotees. So the Lord very mercifully, he gives this transcendental knowledge. He gives also the process. And not only that, he comes and helps us. He sits in our hearts, and then he removes all the anarthas. So definitely it is the mercy of the Lord. And it is a question of, are we ready to invoke the mercy of the Lord? Simply by abiding by the Lord's instruction, and we invoke the mercy of the Lord. Not only that, but how do we see that we are making progress? This is the point. Tushti, pushti, sudapayo. This is what the Bhagavatam also explains. One becomes completely satisfied, and also we can see that we become nourished by that, and then we do not have hunger anymore. So like that we can see, by taking up to the process of Krishna consciousness, pratyaksha vagamam dharmim susukam, we can see previously this much we can relate to, although we are not experiencing some higher levels of prema and all those things, but previously I was so greedy, previously I used to be so angry, I used to get anger, I used to be lusty, but now by the process of Krishna consciousness, by chanting Hare Krishna, by submitting myself, visibly we could see that these things are reducing. This is a test of bhakti. So our desire for material acquisitions reduce, and our desire to take up more engagement in Krishna consciousness increases. So that is that we can see, and this is the mercy of the Lord. Mercy of the Lord and his pure devotees. That's how it happens. So that's the point. Okay, thank you very much. So we will continue tomorrow with the rest of the chapter. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai. Hare Krishna.